Good morning, West Lawn family and friends. It's great that you are joining us once again for our daily devotional videos that Pastor Jeff and I have been doing for about 3 months now. So we are continuing our Stump the Pastor series. Today actually is my last installment, as over the next 2 weeks I'll be making the trek down to West Lawn. So we are continuing this series. Pastor Jeff will still continue every other day, but we have a special treat that other members of our staff, a different member of the staff each day, will be filling in for me and have produced videos already, and I've posted them. They'll be coming up daily, so I hope you enjoy their message as well. And it reiterates the fact that as Methodists, we firmly believe that all are called to preach and to spread the good news of Jesus Christ, and we're all capable of doing that. So I hope you give them some positive feedback and enjoy their message as well. But for today, Pastor Jeff and I thought it would be fun to try to stump the pastor with each other. Yesterday, he did a picture of my motorcycle, which some of the wise guys in our congregation, like Caleb and John, have already called me Big Blue. So thank you for that. I got a nickname, apparently. But today, we have Pastor Jeff's John Deere tractor. Now, as you see in the picture, it is at Jeff and Cheryl's home. I'm deducing that because of the Coca-Cola in the background and for some of the setting arrangement of Pastor Jeff's devotional videos, so my detective skills are coming out here. But I also believe that I don't see Pastor Jeff driving this tractor around. He's a little large. I think this is more of a toy version. Actually, I know it's a toy version that I can see Colton and Austin playing in right now. Maybe not Colton so much, but definitely Austin driving around Pop and Grandma's backyard. But when I think of John Deere, it's obviously synonymous with agriculture, with farming and farmland, and just the longevity. So yeah, I think of farming and our food and the land that we live on, and the gifts of creation that God has given us. And so I looked up some statistics because I like statistics and numbers, and there was a time in the United States when, even before pre-United States, where like 97% of all the population were farmers. Now it's accordingly to 1%, and in some statistics even show less than 1% of the population are now farmers, which is about 2.6 million people. Today there are 2 million farms in operation, which in 1935, so a little less than 100 years ago, there were nearly 7 million farms. Meanwhile, back in 1840, workers in the agriculture industry made up 70% of the American workforce. So yes, as a nation, and with industry and technology increasing, we've moved away from small farms to many farms, to less of our population being farmers. And of course, there's implications to that, both good and bad in my opinion. But we have industrialized our farming. We do factory farming now. Some of our food is not as nutritious. We have the GMOs. I could go down that lane, but basically it reminds me of what God has done for us since the beginning of time, since creation, which brings us back to Genesis. And there's 2 passages that I love when I think about creation care. Genesis 1:28 and Genesis 2:15. So from the first chapter of Genesis. Then God blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and govern it. Reign over the fish in the sea, the birds in the sky, and all the animals that scurry along the ground." And fast forwarding to the next chapter, Genesis 2:15. The Lord placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. The Lord placed the man in the Garden of Eden to tend and watch over it. Now, first, in this translation here, man, that's man and woman, Adam and Eve. But going back to Genesis 1:28, the passage I read from the New Living Translation uses govern it. Some of your Bible translations, NRSV, NIV, might use have dominion over. But you look at that word has created a lot of discrepancy and contest. Oh, the world was made for man, and we can do whatever we want. We have this bad theology of pillaging nature, of creation, of pretty much to our detriment then. But it's not to rule over it. in the sense that we've corrupted it, because govern it and have dominion over is supposed to be more of a stewardship, a caring for one another, that we are entrusted to be God's gardeners. That's why I love Genesis 2:15. God placed man in the Garden of Eden to care for it, to tend for it, to look after it, to enjoy its fruits, but to do it in a sustainable, reasonable, loving way that is fulfilling to all of creation, not to the detriment and extinction of portions and maybe even our planet. So I just love thinking about creation and how we are called to be God's gardeners, to care for his creation, but also to enjoy its fruits. This is not a sales pitch to become vegan or vegetarian or don't eat meat. I just think that we have gotten askew a little bit with the way that we treat creation, the way we turn a blind eye because it might save a nickel here or there. But we really should think about the food that we're eating, eat locally, to support local farmers markets, and just to know where the food is coming from that we are consuming, because it all matters and we're all connected. We're in this together, and that's from the top of the food chain to the bottom of the food chain, and wherever any living creature falls in between, the birds in the sky and the animals that scurry on the ground, as we read in Genesis. So I hope today you just take a moment to ponder that, to think about how we are called to care for creation, some of the decisions that we make. We might become overwhelmed saying, oh yeah, I won't use a plastic bag. But you know what? That's just one step. That's just one way that we can move towards God's kingdom and move towards following the biblical law, the biblical lessons, teachings, commands that God has given us. So I hope you enjoy that, or I hope you ponder that, but I do hope you enjoy sticking around for a few more moments as Rachel O'Donnell and her 3 children, Ava, Quinn, and Nora, together, all 4 of them sing the blessing. And it's quite beautiful and quite appropriate for today's message. So may God be with you until we meet again.